everyone, it's Tanya. Today I'm going to show you how to make some shaped Christmas tags. And for this, I'm just going to show you a couple of things we're going to use, and we're going to use them more than what's here, but these are the main products. First, I'm going to tell you that I'm using this embossing folder. This is from Sizzix. I will tell you the name below in case you want to search for it. I looked and I couldn't find this one, but I found one that is almost identical to it, and I will link that in the description box below along with everything else I used today. The other thing I'm using is this nested dies from scrapbook.com, and I'm just using this one here, and that's the next to the smallest one, so I'm using that. I'm also using one second, let me get that out of the way. I'm going to use this stamp set from Holtz and Stampers Anonymous. It's called Festive Prints, and I'm using this for the to from. If you have a different to from you want to use, that's perfectly fine, but I'm going to use this one, so we're going to have that out to use today. Now I will tell you, I'm going to show you two different ways to do this, one with pattern paper and one using the embossing folder. I'm only making 4 of these today to show you how to do them, but you can make as many as you want. But I will tell you, for each tree that you make, you're going to need 4 pieces. So for each one, you're going to need the background and whatever color you want your stem to be. I'm using like a craft stock for that. And then I'm doing alternating light and dark green for the embossed ones. And as you can see, I'm going to do them 2 different ways. I'm going to do light, dark, light, and then I'm going to do dark, light, dark. So for the pattern ones, same thing. You're going to need the brown for the background, or whatever color you want to use for your tree stem. And then I'm using a pattern paper, and this is from scrapbook.com, and I will link that also below, but it's called the Noel pattern collection. And it has these 2 patterns that are the same but different colors. And then on the back of this one is this lighter green. So what I did was I just cut 2 of each of those for my 2 tags that I'm making with the pattern paper. And the same thing, I'll reverse them. So I'll always keep the lightest in the plain one will be in the middle, but the 2 with the patterns will be reversed on the other one. It'll make sense, I think, once I start making them. And for these, I used the 2 different greens from the Joyful Smooth cardstock from scrapbook.com. And like I said, I will link all that stuff below. So let's get started first, and we're going to start first with the plain ones. So what I did for these is I'm going to use this whole piece here. This is going to be my base. This is what I'm going to stamp my to from on the back of. But for the other ones, I went ahead, and what I did is I went onto the back, and let me see if you can see this, and I just kind of marked this. So I know I'm going to cut the stem off here. So this is my bottom part. I marked this one here. I'm going to cut all this piece off, and this will be my middle part. And then up here, I marked here, and this is going to be my top part. But before I do any of the cutting on these, what I want to do is line them all up together like this. And I'm going to use just a little piece of mint tape. I added mint tape just to hold these together, and I'm going to take my crocodile, and I've got it on the 8th of one for the hole punch, and I've marked a little hole where I know I want this, and I'm just going to kind of, and I know you're not going to be able to see it, I'm just going to kind of line that up where I want it, and I'm going to poke a hole through all of them so that I know when I put these together that that hole is going to line up. I'm going to remove the mint tape, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this with all the rest of them. Now you can see I've gotten all the holes punched in my trees, and I'm going to set the 2 pattern paper ones aside, and we will start working on these. Now what I'm going to do for, oops, that goes with one of the pattern ones. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do first, I'm going to set the backs aside, and I'm going to do one tree layer at a time because I don't want to mix the 2 up because of the holes. And I'm going to just take my scissors and follow that line and cut these off. And I would save these pieces because you could probably use these to make more of the tags if you want, or you may find use for them for something else. So there we go, that's the middle. For this one, we just need to cut this bottom piece off. So now, as you can see, these, when you go to layer them, you get a layered die from what is not normally supposed to be a layered die. And like I said, you could save these because you may want to use them for something else. You could add them to a different tree. That's up to you. If you don't, just toss them. Completely up to you how you decide to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do this with all of my trees, including the ones with the pattern paper, so they'll be ready to go, and then I'll be right back. I have all of my tree pieces cut out. As you can see, I did the pattern ones as well as the plain ones. So we're going to set these pattern ones aside, and we'll come back to those in just a minute. So for these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, separate them out again, and we're going to ink the edges of these up. So I'm going to start with, let's start with the green. And I'm just using Distress Ink and Rustic Wilderness. I'm going to move these over here on the glass part of my mat, and I'm just going to go around the edges. And my Rustic Wilderness is really juicy, so I probably am not going to have to reload this ink dabber up. Alright, so we've got all the greens inked up. So I can move this side for now. And let's do the browns. Let me wipe this green up real quick. Oh, and my whole mat just moved. Try to get that back where it needs to be. There we go. Okay, so let's do the brown. And I'm not worried about doing any of that brown except for the bottom. That one is really juicy too. Should have dabbed some of that off. That's okay. You know what? I'm just going to ink this whole bottom piece up here. I like that darker brown anyway. Again, if you watch my videos, you probably know this is probably one of my most used distressed ink colors, and that is Vintage Photo. Our next step for these is going to be to emboss them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to emboss just the green parts, not the brown. And you want to make sure that when you do this where you put the trees down kind of randomly. You don't want to like line everything up. You want them to be kind of random. So I like to do it like that. And normally I would spray my paper because this is a 3D embossing folder, but because I just inked it, I think it's going to be fine. And I'm going to run this through my embossing machine, and then I'll be right back. And I got all of these embossed and ready to go. But before we do that, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to stamp the to and from on the back of these. And I'm also going to go ahead while I have my stamping platform out And I will go ahead and do it on the back of the two that's going to go on the with the pattern paper. So I'm just going to set these aside. I'm going to move all these trees out the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up so that my edges touch at the bottom down here. And I'm going to grab my stamp set and just get the to and from out of it. And I'm going to line these up where I want them. Trying to get the to as close to the top as possible. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my magnet and kind of adjust it to hold that right in that center area. Make sure that 2 is all the way on there. Okay, I think that's good. Oh, my from got a little crooked. Let me fix that. See, can you see? Okay, so adjusted that. I think that we're good. Oops, let me take that out. Now I've got to readjust. Give me 1 second here. Before I do that, let's get this back on here like this. And make sure everything's lined up. I'll lift that up and look at it like this. That looks good. So I'm just using some Stay Zone for mine. Just do 2 coats. There we go. Now I'm just going to remove this, and I'm going to pop the next one in. Just make sure it lines up so the edges are touching. I'll pop my magnet in the middle again. Make sure it's right. Nope, it's got to go up a little bit. There we go. You can see it still has some of the ink from the last one. And I'm going to stamp that one. I have all my tags stamped with to from, so I'm going to go ahead and set these 2 back over here with the pattern paper, and we're going to work on these 2. Okay, so I'm going to just make sure I've got the right ones, so make sure they're lined up, the holes. I think this one might go. This one, yes, okay. So now that one goes there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to start assembling. And I'll show you the first one, and then I'll speed it up for the second one. And then once that's done, I'll come back and we'll talk about our next step. So for this first one, I'm just going to add glue to this bottom layer. Gonna make sure that it lines up with that hole and with the sides. Okay, now I've got 2 thicknesses of foam tape, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my thinner foam tape on this center piece here, and I'm just going to put some pieces down. I'm going to put one right in the middle there. And we'll do one not over the hole, but right at the hole. Then we're going to peel those off. And you can add a little glue to the foam tape if you want, so that you have some wiggle room. I think that I should be fine here. And I'm just going to line those up like that. Now I'm going to take some thicker foam tape and I'm going to add that to the back of the smallest piece. And I probably am not going to need a ton for this piece because it's not very big. So let's try to get up here near that hole. There's good. Okay. And again, we're going to line up those holes and the sides. And there you have it. So you could go in if you really wanted to, and you could add like some embellishments, or you could do this in a light color and actually color in the lights from the embossing folder, but I like it just as it is, so that's how I'm going to leave it. I like the little bit more of a rustic look, so I'm going to leave mine as is, and I am going to now try to get my twine through this hole. So I did cut 4 pieces already of this twine here, and I'm hoping I can get it through this hole. Yes, there we go. I'm just gonna pull that. Being careful not to tear the top of my tree. And there you have your first gift tag. Now I'm also going to go ahead and add, I have these little star brads that I got at Michael's. If you cannot find these, I'm sure you can find some little star brads somewhere, or like a little star button you could glue to the top. Completely up to you. But there you go. So it's one tree down. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this one, and like I said, I'll speed this one up and then we'll start working on the next ones. And now that I have the first 2 finished, we're going to start working on the ones that have the pattern paper. So for these, I'm not going to do any embossing. We're just going to use the pattern paper. And same thing with these that I did with these. I am going to ink the edges up, and I'm going to ink the tree base. So let me move the finished ones out the way for a minute, and let's start working with these. Okay, now that we have these all inked up, we're going to do the same thing we did with the ones with the embossing. We're just going to layer them, and we're going to start with the base one, matching it up to the tree. Oops, trying to not drop my tree here. Okay. That lined up. And this time I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do both trees at one time. I forgot I was gonna put, okay, well, I forgot I was gonna put foam tape on the back of that. Let's see if we can pop that off without messing it up. My brain is not braining today. Let's add our foam tape. I'm going to add the string and the stars. So that's what the ones with the pattern paper look like. Here's the ones with the embossed paper. And you could do these with like different patterns of paper, like how cute would these be with like candy cane stripe paper, maybe polka dots. You could do them in all different colors if you wanted to. I think they're just really cute though, and they make like a nice simple little tag, especially if you kind of do like the vintage or the rustic kind of Christmas packaging. These would be super cute in these colors and patterns. But you could adjust the pattern paper and the colors to match any decor or paper that you use. And that's like such a simple way to make a gift tag for your packages. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and please, if you've not already, subscribe to my channel. I do appreciate it. As I said before, all the products I used today I will link in the description box below. I will definitely see if I can find the brads online. If I can, I will link those. As I said, with the embossing folder, this one is a Sizzix one. I will put the name of it in the description box below if you want to search for it. But I found one that is almost identical to it that you could use, so I will link that one. Again, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching and have a great day.